Hello there guys, welcome back to another video of mine, and despite it being the international break, there is still a lot of things to talk about. 2 weeks of no Chelsea. I clearly timed my return wrong, clearly. With all the transfer news and all the games coming thick and fast, the Club World Cup, I wasn't uploading, but I am back to how I used to be, which is daily uploads, consistency, and delivering the best content that I possibly can. But despite the international break, there is a lot to still churn through in terms of reports that are coming out today that were hidden on deadline day, what the latest news is, what's going on, what we can expect over the next couple of weeks, and then proceeds into that way. But let's talk about deadline day quickly. Let's go before deadline day. Let's talk about specifically the Chelsea-Fulham game. Liam Delap goes down injured. Now, when Liam Delap goes down injured, that then sends shockwaves and panic across Chelsea hierarchy. The game finishes. The full-time whistle was blown. Immediately, reports and outlets are leaked that Chelsea are doing their best to recall Nicholas Jackson, because initially Nicholas Jackson was going to Bayern Munich on a loan, simply with an option to buy. There was no obligation. Nicholas Jackson refuses to come back to Chelsea. That's when reports have come out today that Chelsea's number one striker choice for deadline day was Conrad Harder. Now, if you remember, 3-4 days ago, I reported briefly on Conrad Harder that Chelsea wanted to sign the striker from Sporting Lisbon, who is supposed to be filling the shoes of Victor Gyökeres. Now, it has come out that he prefers a move and has preferred a move to RB Leipzig over Chelsea due to his squad role and due to playing time. So he simply rejected Chelsea because he didn't believe he'd get the adequate game time. And to be honest with you, fair enough. I haven't seen enough of him. And from what I've seen and speaking to a lot of Portuguese football fans, they've said that he's quite raw. And even though very talented, he's not ready. But that has been revealed and confirmed today. Conrad Harder was the number one striker choice. We've also heard reports today that when we were negotiating with Ipswich for Liam Delap, I know it's a release clause, but we were negotiating with Liam Delap's entourage in camp about personal terms. He had many suitors after him, Newcastle United being one of them, Everton, Manchester United, Chelsea. A lot of clubs wanted to sign Liam Delap. This has been confirmed. Now, Manchester United, here's the funny part. Manchester United tried to snitch on us. When Manchester United got the news that Chelsea were the front runners for Liam Delap, when Manchester United were then negotiating personal terms with Liam Delap and trying to convince Delap to sign for Manchester United, they told Delap that you're not going to get much game time because Pedro is heading to Chelsea. Now that to me is hysterical, and that to me is borderline out of order. I don't understand where you think is ethically correct or morally right to snitch on other clubs on the business they have not yet completed. To provide context, in that moment, Pedro was not officially a Chelsea player. A, how do you know that it's going to happen? And two, it's got nothing to do with you. It does not concern your business. To me, it's completely immoral. And to me, it shows the absolute classlessness of Manchester United, the lack of class that Manchester United have. And yet, despite them trying to snitch on us, despite them telling Delap that, oh, you're never going to get game time at Chelsea because they're rumoured to sign Pedro, it still backfired on them because Liam Delap obviously ended up signing for Chelsea. But I thought that was quite funny when I was reading that report earlier today on X, and I actually clicked onto the link and read that report in depth, because I've never heard or read anything like that before. But it has been confirmed that Liam Delap was always Chelsea's first choice for that specific profile of striker, and obviously Chelsea was always going to be Liam Delap's first choice as well. But he was always going to pick Chelsea. I mean, let's be honest here, let's be serious. He was always going to pick Chelsea. Chelsea had Champions League football to offer. Chelsea finished the highest out of any club that were in for him, including United, Everton, Newcastle. Chelsea were simply the front runners the entire way through. And obviously it made it a lot easier with him having a £30 million release clause. Now, as I've divulged the events of deadline day and the Chelsea-Fulham game, Conrad Harder rejected us. Liam Delap goes down injured. Jackson's loan deal gets changed. It gets changed from an option to obligation to buy, which suits all parties. And can I just say quickly, as just on a side note, and there's no way that this is true, but can I just say, Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Chelsea purposely told Liam Delap to go down injured so that we can negotiate better terms for Nicholas Jackson? And there was someone that said this. There was a mate of mine that said this. That I was speaking to him extensively yesterday, actually, and he made a very good point. It's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but he made a very good point. The minute the Fulham game ended, if you cast your minds back to Enzo Maresca's post-match press conference, he immediately said, when he was asked about Liam Delap's injury, he said that he will be out for 6 to 8 weeks. Now, without any sort of scans, without any sort of medical advice, because there was no way that any of the medical team without a scan could have given even an approximation of how long he would go for, because you don't know the grade of the tear of the hamstring. Some hamstrings could be 3 to 4 weeks, some could be 6 to 8 weeks, some could be 4 months, depends on the severity of the situation. There is no way that in that quick succession, that quick span of time, Enzo Maresca could have possibly known the extent of Liam Delap's injury. But his theory, my mate's theory, was that Enzo Maresca gave a timeline to then force Bayern Munich's hand to make them panic and say, oh my God, Chelsea are going to look to recall Nicholas Jackson. And that forces their hand, that creates the urgency to then turn that option into an obligation. Now, it is a bit of a conspiracy. It's very far-fetched. But to be honest with you, logically, it does have some legs. It does make some sense. We've seen Enzo Maresca play some games in the past. You know, we've seen other managers play some games in the past, like Mikel Arteta with Bukayo Saka's injury time and time again. So it's not super far-fetched. Again, it is a bit of a conspiracy theory, but it'd be absolutely hilarious if that was the case. And we have obviously negotiated a lot more favourable terms for Nicholas Jackson's loan deal. But heading into this, with Liam Delap, João Pedro, and now Mark Hugh. Mark Hugh has obviously returned from Sunderland, and that will be our striker situation for at least until January. Now, my personal opinion with the Mark Hugh situation, I think Mark Hugh will have to find a new loan spell from January onwards. He will only be covered for 4 or 5 months until we hit January, because when Liam Delap's back, I highly doubt Mark Hugh is going to get the adequate game time that he needs for his own personal development. Now, we still haven't heard updates on Cole Palmer. So obviously we've got Brentford away next weekend, so not this weekend coming, but the weekend after. And we still don't know for 100% sure if Cole Palmer's going to be fully fit for that. And he hasn't got the match sharpness either, even if he is fit. So I highly doubt he'll play a full 90, which means that João Pedro might have to play in the number 10 position, which then means there's a vacancy in the number 9 position. With Liam Delap's injury, there is a big possibility that Mark Hugh will get some at least 20 minutes to half an hour against Brentford, depending on the scoreline, depending on the match situation. My only concern is I don't think that Enzo Maresca trusts Mark Hugh entirely, which means that I have reservations. Last season, when the expectation for Chelsea was lower, because the expectation naturally will be higher this season, despite expectations being lower last season, Enzo Maresca still didn't trust Mark Hugh that much. When Nicholas Jackson got injured, he played Pedro Neto in the false 9. I suspect he will do a very similar thing. I still think that against Brentford, even if Palmer is not 100% fit, he'll put João Pedro in the number 10 position. He'll stick Pedro Neto up at number 9, and he will keep, and that means either Garnacho or Gittins plays left wing, and then he will keep Mark Hugh on the bench. That is my theory. I don't think he trusts Mark Hugh, and why should he? He didn't trust Mark Hugh in a season with less expectation. This season with more expectation, why would he trust Mark Hugh all of a sudden? He won't. What makes the matters worse is Mark Hugh is also League Cup tied. He can't play in the Carabao Cup, so he's only really going to get FA Cup minutes depending on the opposition, and unless we have a serious injury crisis like João Pedro getting injured, God forbid. And may I just finally add, if João Pedro gets injured for at least a month or 2 months this season, our season is wraps. It's finito. It's done. It's finished. It's done and dusted. It's completely done and dusted. This guy elevates our attack so much, and with Liam Delap already injured, with Cole Palmer already injured, if João Pedro gets injured, forget about it. We're finished. We're absolutely toast. Something to bear in mind, and I think that we could have done a bit more in the striker situation. But what do you guys think? Leave me your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Smash the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I'll see all of you guys for my next video. Peace.